Welcome to this video. There's a couple things going on in this video. First things first. Quite frankly, I'm losing my mind. I feel like quarantine has been completely and utterly terrible. I'm like, and I've been trying to like whatever myself with, you know, my makeup videos and everything else that I've been doing. Driving to McDonald's, driving to Tacos Rapidos, you know, normal content for my channel basically. And I feel literally like none of it's fucking worth anything. Like, I'm still going insane. I've lost all of my sense of normalcy. I'm losing my fucking mind. And speaking about like loss of normalcy, I know everyone's lost their sense of normalcy, and I know like whatever, like I am gonna bitch about it because I want to bitch about it. Normally I would have never up until this quarantine considered myself an extrovert. I would always consider myself like an extroverted introvert, or somewhere in the middle. But no, I realized through this quarantine, I am a dead-ass high-key extrovert. Like, I want to be around my friends, and I want to be around my drag scene, and I want to see my drag friends, and I want to go to drag shows. Like, the thing is, I have no issue working from home at all. No issue working from home if I'm able to like go out and have fun after my workday. Like, everything for 2020 that I've had planned or I've wanted to go to has been canceled, and the frustration is beyond real for me. Like, it's so frustrating because this is the one year I bought a fucking calendar for myself. It's that stunning Barbie calendar. I was so excited to get my Barbie calendar. I made a video about my damn Barbie calendar. And it has all these events that I was gonna go to. It has drag shows in it that I, up until February, had went to. And it had shows and stuff that we were going to in like May. Thank God I didn't fill it out for June, because it would have just been another month of horrible. What are you doing, dumb fuck? It would have honestly just been like another month of just horrible terribleness and like depression, because quite frankly, I get depressed looking at the shit on the fucking calendar. I get depressed looking at my calendar and seeing Ms. Cracker 2020, for example. I was supposed to go to Ms. Cracker on May 13th. May 13th, I was supposed to go to Ms. Cracker when she was here in Colorado. However, due to coronavirus, it got canceled, and I feel literally like I'm so crushed because of it. Like, I wanted to see Miss Cracker, I wanted to see the show. I'm sure like Cracker feels crushed because she wanted to be on tour. A lot of queens love going on tour and they love being able to work. And Cracker, even though it hasn't been officially announced at the time of recording this video, so spoiler alert, Cracker is allegedly one of the queens that are on All Stars 5. Allegedly. Of course, official cast hasn't come out. We don't know if she's actually on All Stars 5. That's why I'm saying allegedly. But yeah, she's allegedly one of the queens on All Stars 5. And so it was going to be great to be able to see her. Another queen who is allegedly on All Stars 5, Angina, was supposed to be here in March, but it got canceled. It got rescheduled to May. And then it got canceled for May because coronavirus. And I'm like, so utterly, completely, like, sick of it. Like, I want to barf. Like, it makes me want to, like, cry, and I want to scream, and I feel like, and my my job before coronavirus was a thing had told us we'd go to work from home because our people aren't renewing the office lease, and they're not renewing the office lease, and so since they're not renewing the office lease, they were all going to have the Colorado agents go work from home. However, and I was fine with that. I was excited to be able to do work from home. I was beyond excited to be able to do work from home during the day, have my Friday night to look forward to, have whatever to look forward to that's going on that weekend, because I did start going out like every weekend. Like, it was a consistent thing for me. And literally, and like, I remember the last drag show I was able to go to, it was on, it was March, the second week of March, because, or the first week of March, because Kalila was doing her Tool look. It was the first or second week of March. I'll have to look, because Kalila Cortez, my drag friend here in Denver, was doing her Tool look. She'd do the runway of the RuPaul's Drag Race Girls the next week. So it had to have been the second week in March, because the first week was Sparkle, second week was Tool, third week was whatever. And so, second week of March was the last week we were able to go out. Literally, I'm sitting in Triangle, Denver, like waiting for Kalila's show to start, and dead ass, I get an email from Triangle basically being like, Angina tomorrow is like postponed because of the current situation, and I'm like, well, the fuck, should I leave? Like, what should I do? Like, it was an entire situation, and it was so beyond frustrating. On top of that, we also had fucking... You dumb motherfucker. And like, I'm just going, quite frankly, I'm going insane. I'm going stir crazy. I always considered myself an extroverted introvert, someone who loves to go out and stuff, but also loves my, like, alone time. And I still feel when everything goes back to normal, I'm going to feel that way. However, right now, I don't feel that way at all. Right now, I want to just be around as many people as I can. I don't care if I could catch the coronavirus. Like, quite frankly, I've had a great run, let me die. Like, that's the fucking mindset I'm in right now. Like, I'm literally going insane, and I know it's such a privilege to be able to, like, just get in my car and drive, because there's nothing that says I can't get in my car and just go. And so that's what I'm doing. Like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just getting in my car and I'm going. And this morning I tried to, like, help myself cope, because I, like, put on some makeup. I put on Celebrity Skin Lip Ammo by Jeffree Star Cosmetics with a bit of Trixie glitter. Trixie Cosmetics glitter on top. And I don't know if I like the way the glitter was. I need to get, like, a nice glitter adhesive from, like, Anastasia Beverly Hills or some shit. And I did, like, Cherry Wet from Jawbreaker. That's another thing I'm frustrated about. I want to support, like, my local girls. I want to support my local businesses. I want to support my local entertainers. And a lot of them are, yeah, they have their Venmo out and they have their PayPals out there, and I have supported in the ways that I can. However, I don't want to... I just don't want to, like... I don't know. It feels weird. Like, and I hate the feeling of just like, this feeling of being, like, feeling so weird and feeling like almost empty. Like, I feel like, definitely in Colorado right now, the streets have picked up a little bit because our stay-at-home orders have been closed. And so the streets and the traffic and all that stuff have been picked up. There's safer at home initiatives and stuff, which is like great. It's a little bit of normalcy coming back, but it's also beyond frustrating because it's not beyond frustrating, but it's like frustrating because I'm still not able to do the things that I want to do in order to like get my rocks off and like good. Like, I just want to go out. Like, I just want to go to a nightclub. I just want to see my drag friends. I just want to see Kalila Cortez do a number. I just want to see Lacey Vanderpump do a number. I just want to see my bestie, like Chanel Banks Misdemeanor. I just want to see her do a number. I want to see just everyone work it. Like, I'm so done with this, like, shitty whatever, the shitty coronavirus. I'm just so over it, which is like, I feel like beating a dead horse. I feel like we're all over it, and I feel like we're all struggling, but I also, like, I don't know, even though I don't have, like, a giant platform like some other YouTubers, I feel like I still have a small enough platform, and I feel like y'all hopefully like me enough that y'all can, like, see where I'm coming from, and, like, I want to hear your guys' comments in the comment section below. Like, I want to hear you guys bitch. Like, it's a good thing to bitch, believe it or not. Like, it's healthy, it's a good thing to bitch. Like, it's beyond healthy to, like, just get your frustrations out. And that's what I'm doing, quite frankly. I'm just bitching. Like, let me bitch. Like, I'm just getting my frustrations out. I'm frustrated about everything at this point. I'm frustrated about the stupid virus. I'm frustrated that my friends can't work right now. Like, my drag friends can't work right now because of the virus. I'm frustrated that even though, yeah, technically the stay-at-home order has been lifted, a lot of my, like, drag friends and my, like, self-employed friends still aren't going to be able to, like, work because they're in the drag scene. They're, like, full-time drag queens, and it's frustrating when I just want my friends to, like, succeed and be happy. And, like, I know my friends don't want to be asking random people, like, for money for no reason. Not for no reason, but, like, they don't want to be asking people to, like, donate to their Venmos and PayPals. They want to be out earning their money. Like, most of my friends are really great like that. They want to earn their cash by, like, performing, or performing is, like, the big avenue, but a lot of them, like, they want to be out there performing. They hate the fact that they have to be like, can you Venmo me? Like, can you PayPal me? Can you Cash App me? Like, a lot of them hate it. Like, it's why in my description, yeah, I have my Cash App in my description, but it's at the very bottom. Like, you're really gonna have to go through my description and read my description to find out that I even have my Cash App in the description, quite frankly. And I don't, like, it's frustrating because it's like, I had just, like, gotten comfortable within our drag community. I had been going out starting in August, and I, like, met certain queens that I'd become really good friends with, and I was just starting to get comfortable, and I was just starting to maybe begin to explore, like, oh, maybe I can be an entertainer as well, because I've had a lot of queens tell me that, like, I can just tell by the way you lip sync along to our songs, or I can just tell by the way you lip sync in the club that you would kill it if you, like, got up in drags and shit. And I'm just like, I guess. But, like, so I was just beginning to find that divide between, like, trans person and drag queen. And I know multiple trans girls in Denver who are also drag queens, and they're so stunning, so gorgeous, so amazing. And I was taking, like, notes from them, and I wanted to, like, learn their shit. And honestly, I another like Trixie Mattel walking around, but in my mind I feel like I can't do. To me, drag's about the performance, drag's about the art. It's not about how fishy you are, it's not about how whatever you are, it's about the performance that you put on. And so like I'm honestly very inspired by Trixie makeup, I'm inspired by Kimchi makeup, I'm inspired by Rock'em Sakura's face, like, and there's queens in Denver that do. I don't think there's any queens in Denver who really do a Trixie face that I know of. But queens in Denver are so fucking talented. So talented. Like, it's insane how talented the queens in Denver are. And I was just getting to a point where, like, my drag friends were, like, hyping me up a little bit, where they're like, you'd be fine, you'd slay, you'd do great. And I'm just like, wow, thanks, sis. Like, and I was actually starting to believe it. Like, I was actually starting to believe, like, damn, like, I might be able to do this. I might be able to, like, learn how to perform. I might be able to, like, get a couple whatevers and, like, pointers from my friends and shit. And now that's all gone. Like, not all gone, because I'm still talking to my friends and I'm still talking to the drag queens within our community here in Denver. But it's, like, insane. And, like, I don't even want to, like, I don't know, I don't even, like, I'm frustrated also because, like, I feel like, yeah, all these essential businesses are reopening and stuff, but, like, bars and clubs and stuff are not deemed essential businesses. And I guess essential businesses aren't opening. There's places like Kohl's and, like, shit like that, which I guess, like, whatever. That's fine, I guess. But, like, I'm not going to those places. Like, I have never in my life had, like, the urge to go to Kohl's, but now that I know that Kohl's is opening, or Kohl's is open, I want to go ahead and go to Kohl's. Like, what the fuck? I also feel like, I feel lost. I feel like nothing that I do is good. I feel like I'm trapped. And, like, I work in a job where, in a way, I am kind of deemed essential because I'm working with healthcare, basically. Yeah, I'm in a call center. I'm in my office at home taking calls about people's, like, with people, but, like, essentially it is healthcare. Like, I am talking to people about their coverage and their current status of things, and we get a lot of calls of people, like, being concerned for coronavirus. And so I guess I shouldn't be, like, upset. I guess I shouldn't be, I guess I shouldn't feel like I'm not doing anything to help, because in a way I am. But at the same time, even though I know, like, I am one of those people that are technically, like, helping, I feel like I'm not helping in the same vein, because, like, I don't have all the answers. I just don't. And it's, like, frustrating sometimes when you get people on the phone and they're like, oh, well, my health coverage lapsed and, like, I don't know what to do. And, like, we go ahead and get them renewed, but, like, it's not gonna, like, be active that same day. It's gonna take up to 15 business days for the state to go ahead and reactivate your coverage. And even with that, it's gonna take an additional, if our system says, like, you need to send us proof of, like, income or whatever, it could take another additional 15 business days, because we have to verify those documents. And not my team specifically, but there's another team that verifies documentation. And, like, it's honestly, it's insane. And today, like, I think one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to just get behind the car, get behind the car, guys, get behind the wheel of my car and just go, was because it seems like such a foreign thing to like get on the road and it to be busy. Like the road is busier like than it was. Like there's a ton of cars out, which is like, I guess, a really good thing. Like I guess it's a really good thing. Because it is like, it is showing that, like, damn, like, we are coming back to some sense of a normal thing, but, like, also at the same time, I'm frustrated and I'm bitchy because, like, I just want to go out. I just want to go out to the club! Such a first world problems thing to bitch about. Such a first world problem thing to bitch about. I just want to like get my I just want to get my rocks off. I just want to get my fucking I just want to go out and have fun. Just want to go out and have fun. That's all I want, quite frankly. Like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I will drive to fucking... I will go to any club that I've never been to. I as long as it's, you know, drag entertainment, because I love my drag entertainment. I will literally, like... At this point, I will literally do anything for this just to be, like, over. And, like... I just want to go out. I just want to go out to the nightclub. I want to have fun. I want to... You know, I never thought I'd miss, like, going to the mall. Like, I don't normally, like, go to the mall anymore. Like, I'm dead ass. Like, I just don't go to the mall anymore that much. I just don't see much need to, I guess. So I don't go to the mall very much, but, like, I miss going to the fucking mall. Like, I just want to go to the mall. Like, I just want to fucking... I want to scream, quite frankly. And I have no idea which way I'm going. I thought I was getting to... the interstate, but I guess I'm not. I'm not even an hour into this, and I'm, like, kind of over it. I'm over the drive. Let me off. Let me go home. Because there's too many people on the road for my liking right now. Isn't that so fucking ironic? That is so ironic. Literally 10 minutes ago, I was like, oh my god, it's like exciting that there's people on the road, but immediately I'm like, there's too many fucking people on the road. Yeah, there's too many fucking people on the road. I'm getting over it. Like, dead ass. But, like, I also have to, like, figure how many of these people have been, like, cooped up in their house, like the rest of us, and, like, this is their first time on the road, and they're just driving to drive like I am. Like, damn. Although it's really, like, windy. I'm getting off here and finding my way home. I'm gonna try to, like, find a back way, I guess. I don't even know if there is a back way, but I'm gonna see. I'm gonna figure it out. Because that's what I enjoy about driving, getting myself lost. But, like, that's why I'm getting annoyed with so many people on the road. Because driving has lost its mystique for me. Like, I do drive fairly frequent. Like, I haven't limited myself to driving very much. I still drive to drive to drive. Like, yeah, basically I still, like, just drive to drive to drive. And there's this car next to me that's all decked out in pink decal with, like, pink eyelashes. And it's dead ass the best thing I've ever seen. However, anyway, I feel like I haven't really, like, limited myself on driving, which is why, like, I feel like driving has, like, kind of doesn't have that mystique anymore like it used to. And that's frustrating because driving to me used to be, like, my release. It used to be, like, my of things. Like, it used to kind of, like, calm me down and shit. And, like, right now driving's not doing shit. Like, I still feel all the things that I felt, except for I'm anxious. And now I'm anxious. Ugh. Because there's other people on the road, and these other people don't know how to fucking act sometimes. And, like, I'm also upset from, like, my friends who, like, lost work on the big drag shows. Like, my friend Lacey Fox Vanderpump, she's worked with 5 Senses Reeling before. She's, like, a dedicated local girl. She has no interest in getting on Drag Race. She's literally, like, local queen. She has, like, a day job and stuff. She has no interest in getting on Drag Race, but she loves doing drag for, like, extra cash, extra money, and because she loves performing. I mean, I feel like every gay child secretly loves performing. But Lacey was supposed to be, like, an extra or do some shit for the Miss Cracker show, which is, like, so beyond cool, which is so amazing. And the opportunity was now taken away from her because of coronavirus and because of COVID. Like, she's not going to get the opportunity to do the things that she was supposed to do with Cracker now, and it's beyond tragic to me. Like, I'm all for seeing my friends succeed. I'm all for having my drag friends do their shit, succeed. I'm all for my drag friends killing it. And my drag friends were, quite frankly, killing it. And it's frustrating now that it's frustrating because now they're not getting that opportunity. And I'm mad for them, and I can only imagine how, I'm not mad, but I'm, like, upset for them. I can only imagine how they feel if I'm upset for them. Because, like, it's part of the reason why I made such close friends in the drag community already so quickly. It's because, like, I genuinely, like, want to see them succeed. Like, yeah, it's great sometimes if they have a Drag Race girl, like, literally my first show was a show with Plastique Tiara, and I told all the local girls I loved what they did and stuff, and I asked Plastique if we could do her TikTok face, which is, like, the face that she does that I just made look really fat, and she did great. But any hoot, ever since, like, that, the first time with Plastique, it was like, oh shit, this is, like, a famous drag queen. But then, like, getting to, like, know my local girls and, like, having the guts to message, like, Chanel Banks Misdemeanor and Lacey Fox Vanderpump and Kalila Cortez, like, just having the guts for me to, like, message them and be like, hey, I loved your guys' stuff, like, and just, like, talk to them on a semi-regular basis, like, it's amazing. Like, I just want like my friends to like succeed. And I started not going to shows because there was a Drag Race girl. Yeah, that's a nice perk, but I started going to shows because like my friends were there and my friends were performing. Kalila Cortez started doing a Drag Race watch along on Friday nights when Drag Race was happening, and dead ass I would go every Friday night that I could up until coronavirus came. And I was there for Kalila. Like, one week they had Layla McQueen, and she was like an utter diva. Like, it was so weird, but she was just diva-ish to me. It was like weird. Because like, with all due respect, you don't expect someone who went home first to, you know, be a diva. This is Riverdale Road. Oh my god. It's like this haunted road in Colorado, and I'm dead ass kind of want to go down it now. But it's not like dark. We have to do it when it's dark. Yeah, anyway. I'm just fascinated by this road now, damn. But like, I was going for Kalila, and like, even at the Trixie show that I went to that was in Boulder, I wasn't like, yeah, I was going for Trixie. Like, she didn't have any local girls in her show or anything. But like, I met some of my friends there. Like, I met my friend Serena, who's just amazing, and her and I just kikied and talked and click-clack-clacked, and yeah, it was great. It was great. I just like, I just want to go out again. I want to see my friends. And like, I just want to see my drag friends. I want to see them perform. I want to see them succeeding. I want to see them slaying life like they would do. They're not really able to at this point because of this whole crisis, which is so frustrating. I just want to see my friends living their life and slaying their shit, and the fact that we're like not able to sucks so bad. Like, I just want to see my friends. And like, it's weird how serious the drag community is taking coronavirus. Like, not weird, but like, it's like, I applaud my friends and stuff for taking coronavirus so serious, because I have been the person to be like, hey, maybe I can like come over and hang out, like maybe we can just do something, like I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house bored, and they're like, that's breaking social distancing, and I'm like, bitch, we've been social distant for how long now? I'm sure none of us are sick. But no, like, my friends like are taking it hella serious. They're like, no, we can't really, like, we're not really supposed to leave the house, so we're not going to. For whatever reason, the drag friends that I'm friends with are, like, dead ass about the law. And, like, I know what some of y'all shady people are going to be saying, like, oh, that just means they don't like you very much. Not my drag friends like me. How dare you? Fuck off. The first night I met Lacey, like, officially, she was being a bitch, and I was a bitch right back, and she was like, oh, I think I like you. Because no one's a bitch to Lacey. No one's a bitch to Lacey except for me. And like her other friends. But yeah. So I'm actually lost. But like, I'll just keep going. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim. Okay, I'm gonna listen to more Just Media. This is 5 True Disturbing Skinwalker and Wendigo Stories. They're like my favorite stories to listen to. Oh my god.
And welcome. Tonight, we are heading back to the woods to encounter one of the most feared
Apparently I'm in Commerce
and
City.
elusive creatures, the Skinwalker. I hope you're ready, because it's time to get comfortable and let the darkness take
Well, you didn't know this because there's a cop in front of me. I just look like I got like
The cool
glitter jizz on my
autumn
mouth.
morning in mid-October is where our story begins. In a small but quaint town near Clemson County, where the Tugaloo River stands. My friends and I, Elle and Jay, went up to the mountainous region to enjoy a weekend full of camping. What we planned to do, aside from lodging and camping out in a rustic cabin, was to hike the vast trails and rugged terrain, to hunt for our meals and sleep underneath the stars. Our trip was planned in advance, and as such, all of us thought we had everything covered, every contingency prepared for. But as we would later discover, we were horrifically wrong in that assumption of ours. Our first morning in the mountains was met with a beautiful sunrise, the likes of which I doubt any of us had ever seen before. Steadily it rose to grace us, blessing all its light touched with warmth and loving radiance. Groggily I got out of bed, still exhausted from the previous night, as I was the one who drove for the last half of the trip. After waking up a little more, I got dressed and headed downstairs to meet the rest of my group, Elle and Jay. As we gathered and sat down for breakfast, we began to discuss the first thing we would do that day, laughing our asses off as we joked and prodded at one another, teasing, making jabs, in an effort to get one of us to drive about the area, so the others didn't have to. We finished packing for the day ahead of us and loaded into the car, the attempts of persuasion from earlier failing me, as I ended up driving yet again. And so began our trek into the wilderness around us. Works for me, I thought, as I drove down the winding trail. I get to see it all up front, while those two make out in the back seat. Now to each their own. I know, but I was a little bit disgruntled at them for not taking in the scenery, so I decided to sweeten the mood. Apparently swerving on a winding incline was not the best course of action, even jokingly, as my prank was soon met with a hard smack to the face. "What the hell?" Elle exclaimed. "Are you gonna be retarded the whole trip?" I chuckled. "Calm down, I was just horsing around. I mean, you two are having your fair share of fun. Isn't it right I only get to have mine?" Elle sneered and said, "Please don't do it again. You just about made me wet myself. I thought we were gonna perish. If you're gonna joke around like that, at least make sure we're not on a narrow bend like this, okay?" I sighed. "Okay, I'm sorry. My apologies, Your Highness." After a while I chuckled again and said, "You know, if I want to be lectured, I'd stay at home and have my ear talked off by my mother." We'd finally reached our destination. The fallen leaves decorated the forest floor, crisply crunching underfoot as we made our way further into the hiking trail, walking deeper into the wooded realm that encompassed us. The trail was peaceful, filled with moments of silence and beauty, all of which was jovially brought to an end as Jay, being the country fan he is, began whistling a beloved tune. Soon we all chimed in, singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads," as none of us could resist the urge to sing to such a camp-friendly song. We continued humming various melodies, the last marking of the day's end as the sun began to set. The final tune escaped our lips as the moon began to rise, signaling the night's arrival, and with it, the subjects to its rule. The moon's full paleness and eerie light crept through the brambles and thickets of branches, its sickly touch sending chills down our backs. A cold shiver ran throughout our bodies, and Elle began to cling to Jay, obviously frightened, and said, "Bill, maybe we should get going, like, now." You see, Elle's my best friend, and in the time we've known each other, whenever either of us gets a bad feeling, we take heed and turn away from the supposed risk. Just as we started to head back in the direction of the car, a shrill cry rang out, a deafening and blood-chilling wail that snatched away whatever peace and tranquility.
I am dead ass lost, but like, I'm high-key okay with it.
With fear as our shadow.
Why is that like now my thing? Dead ass.
Uncertainty, the ball and
like,
chain.
I just keep saying dead ass.
Jay quickly asked. Elle hugged him tighter. "Did you hear that, Dill?" We began to scan the area around us, making out whatever we could in the pale moonlit night. Our ears twitching at every sound they heard, our hearts slowing to a rhythmic pump. As
like, seriously, dead ass. Why is... Fuck!
What appeared
I just,
to be
like...
glowing,
I, like, just hopped on the dead ass train, and, like, it's like, I'm obsessed with dead ass.
As quickly as we saw them, the orbs vanished, and that horrific wail resounded soon after, leaving us motionless from fear. Courage or stupidity took hold of us, and we booked it back to the car against our better judgment, as running from a predator was a bad idea due to their instinct to hunt and give chase to fleeing prey. We all came to the unified and unspoken decision that staying there with that thing was a worse idea than doing nothing. Finally, we made it. Jay and Elle got in first, and I followed suit. Again, in the driver's seat, and I started the car. As soon as the headlights flicked on, there, in the brush, just barely visible but perceivable enough to make out from its most horrific visage, stood an actual monster. There are no other words for it. Its sickly pale yellow eyes stared into our souls as we looked back with the utmost horror imaginable. Our gaze met. It knew we were terrified of it, and honestly, it took pride in such a notion. Its skin was a redwood color, like tanned hide, only slightly darker, while its face, from what little we could see, was sharp and angular. On the next tree to it lay one of its grotesque hands, just as monstrous as the rest of it, adorned with claws at the tips of its curled, elongated fingers. One leg was partially visible, and, much to our dismay, was bent and misshapen. That's when we knew, if this was a prank, it was the best damn prank ever. There's no human leg is able to bend like that. Imagine how a dog's leg would be, or some other animal, with the knee bent backwards, heels resting off the ground, all the while the pads of its feet lay nestled on the forest floor, its sharp claws digging into the dirt and leaves beneath where it stood. Then it cracked.
I still have no idea where I am. Just want to make sure y'all are updated.
Dare I say, fangs. All of this, as drawn out as it seems, happened in the span of a minute or two. Just as quickly as we saw it, though, it slithered away back into the brush. What in the ever-loving hell was that thing? I asked, fear stinging my throat, tears burning my eyes, with Elle and Jay yelling at me to drive away. I snapped back to reality, threw the car into reverse, turned around, and gunned it down the path. To hell if it was a narrow road, and on that notion we agreed. After what felt like an anxiety-ridden eternity, we finally arrived back at the cabin and slowly made our way.
There was just this thing that says Sterling Duet, whatever, collections.
But from shock,
if I'm in Sterling, Colorado, then
utter disbelief, we all decided to sleep in the same room.
My mind is blown.
Huddled around.
Because the only way I know to get to Sterling is through
Elle was passed passed out from all the excitement of it all, while Jay was soon to follow from a rundown of his adrenaline high drive. But I managed to stay awake for a while longer, gripping tightly onto my hunting utensil
It's to
as
the
I sat on the
interstate.
edge of the bed.
Did I
tossed
fucking
and
get to
turned
Sterling?
and awoke at every sound that came from the woods, unable to get any decent sleep for what seemed to be...
Hey Siri. Where am I?
You're at East 104th Avenue, Commerce City, Colorado.
Sick, thanks.
The hours
Apparently I'm
went
still in Commerce City.
until I finally gave in to the idea of a well-rested night. Screw that.
It looks
I gave
very
it a
like
defeated sigh.
country-esque though.
I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs for a drink and a bite to eat, still on edge as my heart pounded in my chest. There I sat in the kitchen, eating my midnight snack, drinking away whatever that thing was from my memory. All of a sudden, as if on some dreadful cue, a chill runs down my back. It's the same chill I felt right before the creature showed up. A feeling of a lurking nearby danger, one that heralds the tendency for someone to proceed with an air of caution. A light tapping sounded at the window, and without thinking, I turned to look. In the darkness, two whitish, yellow eyes shone from outside, beaming into the cabin as whatever they belonged to searched around. Then, they rose high.
Oh shit, I just got on a toll road.
Resting almost above the window frame. Whatever this thing was tall, frightfully small. It put its hand on the window, but in the moonlight it looked wet and redder than it did before. A fresh, vicious substance dripping from its claws. Slowly I backed away, and it did the same, but neared closer and closer to the door as it stepped from the window. Seeing the door was open,
I don't know how to get off.
and slammed up against it as it creaked, knocking whatever that hideous thing was away and blocking the door. I heard a slight breathe and what sounded like a groan before it spoke. "Let me in, Bill," Elle said from behind the door, her voice deepening, becoming more sinister in tone. "There's a monster out here. Please don't let him get me." I stood there, weapon in hand, tears welling in my eyes, a gasp in my throat, and then it spoke again. But this time it wasn't in Elle's voice. Jason, sinisterly and maliciously, taunting us to open the door. "Let me in, little boy, let me in."
I'm just gonna get off as quickly as possible because I know it's toll road.
Horrific wail. Then, an ungodly scream. Jay and Elle ran downstairs, looking as shocked and horrified as I felt. "Let me in," it demanded again. "Jay, open the door, please. It's not me in there with you." Jay became as white as a ghost, and then Elle fell to the ground, passed out from fear and disbelief. "Dylan, Dylan, Dylan." It began to laugh and then spoke in my voice. "If everyone else is having fun, isn't it only fair that I get my fair share too?" I blacked out after that. Morning came, the sun creeping over the horizons, slowly gracing us again. This sunrise was similar to the previous morning, and we finally understood why it had risen so slowly. It wasn't a gradual, majestic sunlight. It was quite the opposite. Disturbed, scared, reluctant to mantle the throne in the heavens above us. We finally understood, and after packing up, we got the hell out of there and never returned. The mountains grew distant and soon faded as I drove back home, although admittedly, I didn't mind being the driver this time. L&J refused to return there to the sprawling mountains, forested providence of Clemson County. But one day,
Continue on Tower Road.
I love woods and mountains. Nature itself is too much to be deterred by whatever evil lurks without the dark.
Continue on Tower Road for 1.5 miles.
Venture back to the Clemson County retreat. All goes well for me. That I return alive and sane. It's to hoping. I live in rural Idaho, about 5 miles
People
from
go
the
fast as
reservation.
fuck.
Growing up, we heard all sorts of stories and legends
On the
surrounding
tow road.
ruins. I have to admit, I was a bit of a skeptic when it came to the things we heard. My best friend and I have always been drawn to the paranormal. When we were about 16,
Y'all might die.
17, we
If y'all do,
decided
I'm gonna
to go
pop in a
for
replacement
drives on the
battery.
res at night. The area we live in has a very tight-knit community.
Just so y'all know.
And our little town has just over 10,000 people. We basically have no crime, and everyone feels pretty safe. So driving around at night is no big deal. We went on our night's drive fairly often, with no experiences to note. One day, we'd heard a story from someone at school about an abandoned schoolhouse on the other side of the reservation. Just past the schoolhouse, there was supposed to be a small bridge that went over a large farming canal. The story was that if you drove to the bridge and turned off your car, you could hear water babies. If you don't know what water babies are, they are a Native American folktale.
In a 1/4 mile, turn right onto East 104th Avenue.
Infants, and hearing their cry is allegedly an omen of death, or perhaps something terrible. So anyway, we decided this was going to be our next driving destination. Neither of us had ever heard a water baby cry.
Turn right onto East 104th Avenue.
That night after dark, we jumped in my car and started driving out there. The closer we got to the schoolhouse, the more uneasy I began to feel.
Continue on East 104th Avenue for 4 miles.
And stopped on the bridge. I cut the lights and killed the engine. There was silence. There was no sound but the rushing water below the bridge. We sat there for what felt like forever, but in reality was probably no more than 4 to 5 minutes. We heard nothing but the water. We started joking about the stories being fake and decided that it was time to go home. The keys were still in the ignition, so I simply tried to start the car. Nothing. The dash lights lit up, but it just wouldn't turn over. I'd never had any problem with the car before. I tried a few more times while talking to my friend, not wanting to freak her out. About the 3rd or 4th time, I turned to her and said, "I don't want to freak you out, but the car won't start." Her eyes grew wide and she responded with, "You're kidding me, right?" I wish I had been. We sat there for a minute just staring at each other, not knowing what to do. If we called my mum, there would definitely be some arse chewing for being out on the res so late at night. So we decided to call one of our friends that had a truck. If the battery was dead, he could give us a jump. If not, he could tow us back to town, I suppose. So we called and waited, sitting in the middle of this bridge in my dead car, frustrated from the lack of experience and car troubles. We just wanted to go home. That's when I saw it. It's a well-known fact that the reservation has packs of wild dogs that roam around, killing livestock, and there have been a few instances of them attacking kids and putting them in the hospital. This was no dog. I've seen coyotes and wolves, and there was no way in hell this was either of those things. It was skeletal, like a malnutritioned animal, and walking on all fours, slow and low to the ground. It was walking along the canal towards the bridge. I smacked my friend, making her turn to look at what I was staring at. We both stared in disbelief at this creature slowly coming towards us. Instinctively, I honked the horn. At least that still worked. That's when things got really weird. This thing stood up on two legs, arms limp at its sides, and I legit screamed. I had never seen anything like this in my entire life. The best way I can think to describe it is it looked like Professor Lupin's werewolf form in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. It was massive. It stood between 8 to 9 feet tall and was staring at us. It took a few steps forward, and my friend and I were frozen. We were trapped in a car that we couldn't start. As it slowly started walking towards us, headlights appeared in the distance. As the lights came closer, the creature dropped back to all fours and took off for the hills where I assumed it came from. Our friend pulled up to help us, and both my creeped out friend and I kept quiet about what we had just witnessed. He walked up to the car, and I rolled my window down. He suggested we push the car off the bridge to the side of the road and pop the hood. So I threw it in neutral, got to the side of the road, and my friend asked me to pop the hood and try to start the car. So I did. The damn car started right up. I don't know what caused it to not start before, but that night I had an experience I'll never forget, and I don't go out on the res anymore at night. I'd rather not see whatever it was that night again. One night, the dog was outside barking, so I got up and went out to look. As I was looking outside, the dog came back in and left me alone standing in the darkness next to the shed. I soon became aware of noises in the shed, but put it down as wind. That is until it moved closer, and I felt a strong sense of dread surge through my body. I listened intently to the sound. It almost sounded like a person was on all fours scuffling around. I heard the noise. It was moving towards the shed door. I fled. I ran inside and slammed the door. I sat down and tried to tell myself that it was just the wind. At first, the dread was going away, but then I could feel it building up again. It felt like it was trying to find a way in, moving back and forth along the walls of the house. Then, I suddenly felt it inside the apartment. It had made its way into the kitchen. I'm still unsure how. The window, perhaps? I could feel it getting slowly closer. I was too afraid to look behind me into the kitchen, but I managed to jump up and slammed the door.
In a quarter mile, turn left.
It did. After this, I would hear it sometimes, just scuffling around at night. The alley at the back was dark and smelly, so I assumed it liked it. Now this next bit is truly a fault on my own part. I really should have listened to my own gut feeling.
Turn left.
Months later, it's summer, and therefore very warm. I had the back door open, and I was on my laptop as it got dark. At some point,
Changing battery
I
real
turned
quick.
on the light and sat against the doorframe, trying to make its way inside.
So we turned.
The figure
That's
twisted
kind of all that happened.
its emaciated form around to follow the dog. It was crouched down onto its hands and feet. That's why it made a scuffling noise. I jumped up and threw my laptop to the floor. I ran upstairs and refused to go back down alone. The stupidest thing was that I doubted myself, and if it wasn't for that dog, I don't know what would have happened. Her look towards me when she came downstairs. I can only imagine she was wondering why I wasn't running away. A friend told me it sounds like a skinwalker. I don't know what it was, but I sure am happy that we moved. I'm 16 years old and live in the western United States, and am active in rodeo. This story happened in late winter. My brother and his close friend Tom got permission from a local reservation to use their arena to practice roping. We got there early in the morning, so we would have all the time we needed. Now mind you, My brother's horse and Tom's are both very even-tempered and don't spook easily. My mare, on the other hand, will panic at the slightest of things, and she can be a handful most of the time, to be honest. Since the moment we got there, all of our horses seemed to be on edge, but we shrugged it off and figured that once they got used to their surroundings that they would be fine. After spending the better part of the day throwing ropes and chasing cattle, we decided to go for a trail ride to explore the area. By now the horses seemed to have calmed down quite a bit. There is a river that ran close to the arena, so we decided to go down and check that out, as well as some animal tracks that we had seen. Once we got about 30 yards from the water, we could smell what could only be described as a rotting dead animal. Then something in the tree line caught the attention of all the horses, and after that, mine flat out refused to go any further. Being tired from a long day and frustrated from my horse's lack of cooperation, we decided to call it a day. By this time it was too late to load our gear and horses and take them back, so we decided it was just best to leave them there for the night and stay at Tom's, because they lived closer than my brother and I. We got their stalls ready for the night, got them fed and watered, and headed over to one of Tom's family friends, who offered to cook us dinner. After some good food, good laughs, and a few games of pool, the weird encounter by the river was out of mind. When 9 o'clock rolled around, we all wanted to get some sleep, but I wanted to check on the horses one last time before we left. But when I mentioned this to Tom's family friend, he warned me to not go there alone at night. Wanting to respect that, Tom offered to drive down with me. We got in the truck and headed back to the arena. It was only a half-mile drive back, but the roads were very icy, so we had to drive slower than what I would have liked. Before crossing the bridge that went over the river, this feeling of dread hit me like a ton of bricks. I looked out the window to be met with glowing yellow eyes. They're hard to describe because there was not enough light.
In a quarter mile, continue straight to stay on Colorado 2
I was
West.
a very rational person, but something in my gut told me that this was very wrong. That's when Tom turned to me and asked if I smelt that awful smell, which I hadn't even noticed until they said something. When I didn't respond, they
Continue straight to stay on Colorado 2 West.
just to see the same yellow eyes, the glare I was fixated on. We were both in terror, not knowing what this thing was, because from where it sat, it had to have been at least 8 feet tall, and there are no animals that large in these parts. I finally came to my senses and hit the gas, and our truck started sliding, but we caught traction and made our way back to the arena. When we pulled up, the headlights hit the horses, and the first thing I noticed was that my mare hadn't even touched her food, and that for her is very out of the ordinary.
Continue on Colorado 2 West for 1.5 miles.
Fair share. The other two hadn't touched their food either, which again was very strange, but being scared and cold, we got back in the truck and drove back without incident. We got to Tom's at about 11, and as soon as our head hit the pillows, we were out like a light bulb. All of a sudden, I woke up to my brother grabbing my arm and shaking me. When I asked him what was wrong, he just put his finger over his mouth and pointed to the window. There was a tapping on the glass, and an occasional scratch. I looked at the clock. It was around 3 a.m. Tom and I hadn't told him about our encounter on the bridge, but it was late, and I wasn't going to tell him now and scare him even more. Trying to be rational, I told him just to ignore it and try and get some sleep. But knowing what had happened, I was convinced it was the thing from the reservation.
In a half mile, turn right onto East 72nd Avenue.
Sleep for the rest of the night, and as soon as the sun came up, I woke up Tom and my brother so that we could get our horses and go home, because I didn't want my poor girl to be out with that thing any longer. I told Tom about the tapping and scratching after coffee, so we went to look by her window for tracks.
Turn right onto East 72nd Avenue.
There were what looked to be deer hooves, but they didn't track like normal deer, almost like they were injured, but that still doesn't quite describe it. It only seemed to be one pair and not two, like it was walking on its hind legs. This spooked us, but we just wanted to go see if our horses were okay.
Continue on East 72nd Avenue for a half mile.
Fine, but the food and water was still untouched. We got them loaded up and out of there as quickly as we could. As we drove over that bridge one last time, I looked into the tree line to see a massive buck staring at me. He was large, and I mean unnaturally large, but very sickly looking, like his skin was just falling from his bones, and his legs bent in an odd way. It wasn't the worst part though. It was his face. Those same ungodly yellow eyes. But when I made eye contact, I swear this thing, whatever it was, smiled at me.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto Vasquez Boulevard.
And it was gone. Perhaps it just wanted to scare us one last time. I still have so many questions from that night, but the only thing I know for sure is that I'm never going back there again.
Turn right onto Vasquez Boulevard.
I used to live on a farm when I was 9 years old. In fact, it was an old schoolhouse that was about 10 kilometers away from our neighbors.
In a quarter mile, use the left 2 lanes to turn left onto Colorado 224.
Being a kid on a farm with lots of room, I was always exploring the bush or being out with horses and cows.
Use the left 2 lanes to turn left onto Colorado 224 East 74th Avenue, signs for I-76 West.
I was on my way to go find the horse this day. I was always with Tony, our lead horse. She was a white horse with a black mane and tail. She was more of a foster mother to me, and I could do things with her that would just be amazing. Tony and I had a very close bond. I would climb up her tail and nap on her back as she just grazed. I would climb up her neck since she was a tall horse.
Continue on Colorado 224 for 3 miles.
Around her legs. I would hide under her when I was near her and it started to rain, just as a foal would do. We used to play tag, hide and seek, and so many other games. She loved playing. This is why I was on my way to see her this day. I wanted to be with my best friend. Before you say little kids should not be outside without supervision, this was very common for me since I even slept outside with the animals that I loved and helped care for. I was raised if you are quiet, you will see things you'll normally miss. I always remained quiet to see the wildlife. I can't remember where our German Shepherd was, but it wasn't with me on this particular trip. When I started my trip, I knew I was probably in for a long walk, since she was likely on the other side of the property and across the lake. I crossed the pasture closest to the house, finding nests, interesting rocks, crossing the pasture to the tree line, and it took me about 15 minutes, listening to what kind of birds had what kind of song, and what kind of animal may have crossed through. You can always find out what kind of things are going on around you if you pay attention. As I entered the tree line, things went quiet, so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. I didn't think much of this since I probably disturbed the wildlife. No birds sang or put up a fuss as I got closer to them. There was no breeze, and the air was very still. It felt thick, and since I was 9 years old, I just thought it was the morning dew evaporating. Most of the trees in this bush were maple or fir. I knew there was a hawk nest nearby, as well as a fox den in a ditch about 10 steps to the right. We had become aware of this problem, as some of these foxes had taken some of our chickens, but I was never mad since our hens always had babies each spring. I understood that even they had to eat, and they would only come to human areas if there was no other food source. Things were silent, not a bird or fox bark. I checked on the Robinson's nest to see if they were all right. As I peeked into the nest, The babies were awake, but very silent and didn't move, nor blink their eyes. I moved back onto the cow trail and got the feeling that something wasn't right. No birds, no animals, not even a sound of my footfalls on the path. I moved very slowly towards the meadow that was about 500 meters from where the tree line started. It was very slow and very quiet. Halfway through the bush, I smelt it. Rotting flesh mixed with skunk, and a really bad smell of death. It's amazing how fast your senses will get used to a smell and you go noseblind. I looked around and didn't see anything, no movement, so I kept going, hoping to get through the smell. As I got to the exit of the trees, there is a meadow that always have deer, but this day I got more than I bargained for. I heard grunting and growling mixed with really rough voices, and someone had a really bad sore throat. I couldn't make out the words as I was still too far to understand. I stopped to listen as I could hear snarling, growling of some kind of big animal. It didn't sound like a bear or even a moose grunting. I laid down on the ground thinking I could sneak up and see what kind of animal was making this sound. I peeked through the trees and into the meadow, and I saw something, but I didn't know what it was. I saw 3 creatures that almost looked like really big deer, with their flesh rotting off in batches. I could see ribs and bones, as if the flesh was missing. Other parts were like brown hair mixed with a really bad case of mange. The big one had large antlers with many points. There was skin or something that was shedding off the antlers, and waved or fell off in pieces as it moved. Long ears like a donkey's. The side of its face had no skin at all, and was bare, yellowish bone. It was standing on its hind quarters, as if it were a human with a bit of a hunch. This one was doing the most grunting and growling. It was watching the 2 smaller ones and randomly...
In a quarter mile, continue straight onto West 70th Avenue.
Hands with long claws like talons. The hair this one had on its body was black. The skin was dark brown. This one was circling the other 2 slowly. I was expecting this one to join in the attacks. The hind legs were that of a big dog, but had hooves. I was not close enough to see the eyes, but I didn't want to approach it anymore. The smaller, darker one had a smaller set of antlers like a young deer, 8 points at least, but this one was a lot meaner to the smaller of the 3. Its body was lean, and it was quick. It moved in flashes, and when it paused, it took swipes and bites at the smallest. It was
Continue straight onto West 70th Avenue.
Trying to attack the smaller brown one. I saw chunks of flesh being ripped off the smallest one, who couldn't fight back, as well as the other 2. Its hands and claws were dripping.
Continue on West 70th Avenue for 1 mile.
From its claws in chunks. The smallest of the 3 was brown with 3 point antlers. Only one. Its flesh was bleeding profusely from its wounds. It snarled and bared its teeth while trying to fend off the attacks. There were broken bones, hanging out the flesh. The blood was so bright against its hair and skin, I could see it dripping from where the missing antler was ripped out or broken in the fight. This was not upright like the other 2. This one was on all fours, low to the ground, and having trouble trying to get a powerful kick into the attacker or a swipe. I saw that its right hind leg had most of the flesh ripped off already and a leg broken. There was bone on the lower leg sticking out and bending awkwardly. There wasn't much time before I knew this was a losing battle. I must have gasped at the sight when the big brown one perked its ears and turned to me. Its eyes narrowed when its gaze focused. The eyes were bright yellow, as if there was a light behind it, almost fluorescent. It didn't take its eye off me when it said in a really rough voice, "Leave. Go." I thought it was talking to me, but I was frozen in fear. I saw the 2 big ones run off into the trees and vanish, leaving the 3rd behind. I was not going to approach. I was too scared to run. But just as I was about to move, I saw the small one lift its head and look at me. It growled and snarled and slowly moved to where I was. I froze. I couldn't even move. I even held my breath. I saw this creature moving for me and I couldn't move. I could see its breath now, and instead of white steam, it was pink from all the blood. Hearing a horse calling out, I looked to my right and saw our horses running towards me. My horse, with her head down in attack mode. Her nostrils flared, and she
In a
was
quarter
almost
mile,
screaming.
turn left onto North Pecos
Everything
Street.
went silent for a moment. Her calls were so loud they echoed in my head. I wasn't sure if my life was going to be ended by my beloved horse, or this creature heading for me out in the open. I felt doom and danger.
Turn left onto North Pecos
I
Street.
dropped flat to the ground and called out for our horse with the herd in tow. I've never seen them run so fast. The sound of their hooves pounding the ground, which sounded hollow at this point. I saw our horses herd, about 8 horses in all, heading straight for the thing. They attacked it. The first one to reach the creature reared up, and the others surrounded it in a half circle, almost blocking my view. But I could see between the consistent moving legs, the creature stand up, snarl, and snap at them. I turned my head to the lead horse, Tony, and she
Head
came
west on
running
Samuel
back
Drive toward Jordan
and
Drive.
slowed to stand next to me.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto West 72nd Avenue.
As I saw the horse herd drive it away, they stayed on attack until the things were out of sight. I hugged Tony's
I've
neck,
never
but I couldn't
seen
stand
a
from
school
fear.
like closed
I saw
down,
her
like an
lift her
actual
head
school,
to
like
the ground.
deserted and closed
I was shaking so
until today,
badly
and it's
breathing
honestly so
heavily.
sad.
I thanked her for saving my life. She let me take my time to calm down. And I
Head east on Samuel Drive toward North Pecos Street, then turn right onto North Pecos Street.
as I'd seen the other horses
Continue on North Pecos Street for a half mile.
tossing their heads around as they ran back to their leader. I was scared of what was in the woods. It wasn't until I was home to ask my mum what the creature was that I'd seen. I described it to her as much as possible, and I was told deer or elk, and not to talk of it again. The next day after school,
In a quarter mile, turn right onto West 64th Avenue.
punishment, I know. I had to see for myself what really had happened, and I saw the blood-stained grass and dirt from where the fight had taken place. Fast forward to adulthood. I'm watching movies and hearing
Turn right onto West 64th Avenue.
That's when it clicks. I realized what I had seen, and what could have happened to me when I was 9 years old if the horses hadn't saved my life.
Continue on West 64th Avenue for 1 mile.
Just were less than 5 kilometers from our home. Hey guys, it's Mort here, and thank you so much for listening. Skinwalker Stories. Gotta love the occasional Skinwalker video.
We've done this song and dance before, but let's once again quickly summarise the story of Queen Sindel from 1995 up to now. I have to keep doing this to get it through the writers and some of the fans.
So this is, yes, actually Mortal Kombat 11 did
Sindel
ruin
was forced
Sindel
to
by
marry
the
Shao
fourth
Kahn
snake.
after he killed her husband Jerry.
I re-listen to
and
these
annexed her
videos
realm.
all the
In
time.
grief, she committed suicide. 10,000 years later, she was resurrected by Shang Tsung and placed under mind control to be the linchpin of Khan's MK3 invasion plot. She was saved by Kitana and restored to the throne of Edenia. She then sought to save Kitana when their roles were reversed thanks to Onaga and deception. Finally, she fought in the Battle of Armageddon as a good guy, ultimately laying down her life to protect her realm from the forces of darkness. In a way, she's like Theoden from Lord of the Rings, a noble monarch who was introduced while possessed by dark forces until they are liberated by the heroes, and ultimately laying down their life in battle with the
In a quarter mile, turn left onto North Federal Boulevard.
From MK1 onward, through time travel and earlier events through retcons, Sindel's death was a noble sacrifice to protect Earthrealm. Quan Chi then revived her and placed her under mind control to have her shut her ward off, and she massacred the heroes, dying in the process and becoming an undead slave of Quan Chi. She remained in this state for the duration of MKX and was absent from MK11, but Garrus assured us she still loved Kitana.
Sindel cared for you.
Turn left onto North Federal Boulevard.
Unfortunately, thanks to Sindel only being portrayed in her brainwashed form, many of the newer fans believed she was was just evil.
Okay, now
So
I know
with
where
her
I am.
announcement as a DLC character in MK11, NetherRealm had the perfect opportunity to fix that by using her intros and ending to highlight the kind of person Sindel truly is. Things didn't look good early on with the leaks and the official bio that suggested her personality was being retconned to make her willingly pure evil. I voiced my concerns in a video and received no end to fanboy retorts, the most intelligent of which said that it was only a leak and that it could be false or subject to change. Fair and reasonable, right? But let's address some of the less intellectual responses I received last time. 1. I like this Sindel better. That subjective opinion is irrelevant in the face of my objective criticism of poor continuity. 2. It doesn't matter as long as she plays well. Another subjective take, and a bad one at that. Everything about her is informed by her personality and story, including her intros and even some of her moves. I'll even show you a quote later proving they wanted to make her feel more cohesive on every level. These retcons do matter even if you only care about the gameplay. 3. Sindel has more agency now. What, because she was mind controlled one time and then sought to save her daughter and people from then on, actively taking part in stopping crises that threaten them despite being the monarch? She has no agency, does she? But somehow becoming a selfish murderer who hates her daughter means she now has more agency? I know you're not saying she now has agency because she was never mind controlled, because she still was across the entire current timeline, even with the new retcons, because Quan Chi killed her now, so he had to control her to stop her from attacking him upon reviving her, and then she became a revenant, spending 2 full games being controlled compared to just 1 in the old timeline. Sorry, but you're just wrong. 4. She just thinks that's what happened. Why would her bio not say that then? The 2011 bio did. 5. She's just brainwashed to be like this. Why would the Revenant Sindel, her default form, be made to love Shao Kahn if her sole purpose is to serve Shinnok? This one could still be accurate though, given that the base roster Revenants don't have Revenant-based intros either. 6. She's from another timeline. The only time alternate timelines are used in that way is in mirror matches. Outside of that, the game is purely about the past and present of a single timeline converging, and you'd know that if you hadn't missed the dialogue in the trailer because you cried out in ecstasy upon seeing MK2's Scorpion. 7. Intros aren't canon. Maybe not, but they inform characterization just as any given non-canon ending does. Tanya didn't canonically get Liu Kang killed in MK4, but that ending is how her treachery was conveyed to us. If we get conflicting information like who out of Khan, Devora and Sindel killed Jared, or whether or not Sindel loves Kitana, then what is even the point of including them? They could save a ton of time and money by going back to standard intros like 2011 had. 8. You can't tell NetherRealm what to do with their characters. How is a person supposed to be able to get invested in a character or setting when random details are subject to change for the most shallow and flaccid of reasons? And do you really consider writers who only became involved in the series over a decade and a half after Sindel's debut as having any ownership of her? 9. You should be grateful she's here at all after you asked for her. If you hired someone to fix your plumbing and they fucked up so bad that your house started flooding, you'd be well within your rights to sock someone for saying you're not allowed to complain because you asked the plumber to do it in the first place. Absolute cretin. 10. It doesn't matter because everything is getting rebooted anyway. I've said this before, but this portrayal will inform people's views of Sindel until her next appearance at least 4 years from now. And if these writers carry over to that game, or new writers without experience with the older games take over, they're likely to keep her like this going forward. Honestly, looking at pre-release material, the best we could have hoped for was that she was just possessed by the Banshee spirit she materializes sometimes. Hell, one of her intros looks a lot like the Banshees entering her body and taking over. But alas, the only potentially interesting explanation was passed off for something dumber. But, you know, with NetherRealm's new progressive design ethos, one would think they would have made Sindel's story one of an abuse victim rising above her trauma and overcoming the one who hurt her, rather than presenting her and her abuser as a power couple. Think about that. Sindel originally fucking killed herself because being married to Shao Kahn was so horrible. But now let's make them a power couple? Are you mad? This is about on par with Dynasty Warriors 9 presenting Xiaoji as being in love with the man who abducted her as a child in real life. Once again, in their attempt to be progressive, NetherRealm fucks up so bad they become regressive. Good job, guys. People often say that I'm too hard on NetherRealm, and I genuinely worried that that was the case. So I've tried to be more lenient with them, give them the benefit of the doubt, and go out of my way to point out the good things they do. But every time I do, they give me more and more reasons to tell them all to get fucked. 21st of April, I release 11 good things in MK11. 23rd of April, MK11 releases with its god-awful story, ending, and grindy mobile game structure. 6th of June, following the release of her official bio supporting few early leaks about her new characterization, I release how Mortal Kombat 11 is ruining Sindel and give the writers the benefit of the doubt that they're just ignorant of Sindel's true nature and have a chance to fix her by release. 14th of November, Sindel's trailer releases and NetherRealm begins posting clips that support the leaks and suggest nothing has changed. I continue to hope that Sindel's ending will expose the truth, even though it won't change people's perceptions because her intros are more prominent than her ending. 21st of November. I ask co-writer Sean Kittleson on Twitter to explain the motivation behind the change, or to at least reassure us that there's more to this than there seems. He supports the latter being the case and says he's proud of what the team have accomplished with Sindel here. Also 21st of November, certain influencers have Sindel early and release her ending on YouTube. The ending begins with Sindel recounting the death of Jared as he was originally told, only to then reveal it was all a lie and that she helped kill him. She then dominates the realms and beats up Kitana. Oh, and Quan Chi killed her and covered it up, so I have no idea whether or not her ward is now considered a lie. So, Mr. Kittleson, why did you lie to me? Where is the nuance in this one-dimensional female clone of Shao Kahn? What about completely inverting a strong, compassionate character into an avaricious, overly lustful arsehole are you so fucking proud of? In the past I've tried not to call out specific individuals because it seems needlessly harsh, but I'm done playing nice. I came to Sean asking respectfully for clarification and reassurance because it seemed that he and co-writer Dominic Cianciolo were taking one of my favourite MK characters and ruining her. And then he lied directly to me about this, claiming that the team really put a lot of care and thought into her portrayal. I heard from a friend with contacts inside NetherRealm that Dominic was Sindel's writer, but I have no proof of this and he never replied to my tweet anyway while Sean lied, so I'm probably going to be harsher with the latter than the former, even if the former actually is more culpable here. At first I did assume Sean and Dom simply didn't understand the character, that they perhaps only experienced the last two games and based their understanding of her on her brainwashed self. You know, it wasn't that they were intentionally changing her, but instead that they just didn't understand her. After all, her design wasn't as straightforward and shallow as a lot of the more modern additions to the roster. Sindel looked and fought like the standard evil queen, but was revealed to be a good person who loved her daughter and her people. She was a subversion of that generic trope, you can't judge a book by its cover. Unfortunately, the current creative team did not get the message because, according to senior QA analyst Stephanie Brownback,
there was always, in my opinion, a disconnect between the way she looked and played and acted in gameplay and the lore.
You know, in the series where the main character is a murderous Shaolin monk and where husband and wife Johnny and Sonya brutalize each other and their child, you'd think these guys would have known the change would be controversial and would have a better excuse lined up. And I thought Steve Barron's excuses were bad. But because of this asinine notion, they wanted her personality to match her design. So they looked at her and saw an evil older woman in skimpy attire and decided Sindel should thus be a horny evil skank who murdered her own husband. After all, NetherRealm's design is just getting more mature and respectful, especially towards women, like all the sexual slavery threats made towards Cassie Cage, or Jax's entire character being boiled down to black man. Stephanie also presented this as if it's just new context to reveal a truth that's always been there and not a retcon.
And this is not some kind of shenanigan. This is the real lore, and it's pretty big for Sindel. It's a very new interpretation of her personality.
That's exciting.
No, it's a retcon. Sindel was a benevolent queen once she was restored in the old timeline, never abusing her power or people, and sought to save Kitana for personal reasons and not just to help her get her power back from Onaga. Numerous bios and endings have made it clear she was being forced to be evil and truly desired to keep her daughter and people safe. Quan Chi called Sindel one of Raiden's allies back in MKX, where she also told Cassie about being reunited with Kitana in death, which is an odd thing for an uncaring mother to say. And Garrus would probably know the truth about Sindel, and he says she loved Kitana. Guys, again, you must have known people would be angry about this, and you had months to come up with a better excuse than this. I mean, Christ, when MK Annihilation is portraying characters more accurately and has a more cohesive and satisfying plot than your MK work, you have officially done something very wrong. I am done giving NetherRealm the benefit of the doubt and trying to appease their mindless fanboys. The people in charge at NetherRealm do not respect this franchise, its characters, its story, or its fans. They make this clear with their willingness to completely rewrite long-established plot points and character personalities because they think they know better than the people who've been with this franchise for over a decade, as well as their brazen willingness to openly lie to the fans about the bullshit they're peddling. In the Twitter thread, someone told Sean to step down from his position, and I thought that was a bit harsh. harsh. But in light of the combat cast and the final product, I think he should. I'm not saying he should lose his job, of course. He can work on Injustice 3 since it's clear that the writers have far more respect for DC characters than MK ones, but he should not be involved in writing for MK ever again. Even when his writing is not blatantly inaccurate or openly disrespectful, it's generally low quality and unbearably cringeworthy. If this series ever hopes to have a chance of having a good story again, it needs to move Sean and Dominic onto other projects and bring someone else in. Someone who actually cares about the world they are working with and views it as an honour and a passion project instead of any other boring job assignment. I'd like to close by bringing your attention to Sindel's Deception ending. It's not canon, but it's still relevant to her characterization. Back then, endings consisted of 2 CG images accompanied by narration from either Raiden or Shujinko. Sindel was the exception. Her ending featured 3 images. The team felt the resolution of Sindel's storyline here was important enough to warrant an additional image to properly depict her discovery of Onaga's coffin, her successful dispatching of the villain, and her tearful reunion with her now freed daughter. And I'd like you to just take a minute to take in that last image. This one frame depicting a tear rolling down Sindel's cheek as she holds her daughter close displays more character than all of MK11's god-awful intros for her combined. And nowhere in this image is there any indication that Sindel secretly is just using Kitana as a tool and actually does not care about her at all. This is the real Sindel. Do not believe the lies NetherRealm are feeding you with this, the latest in a long line of character assassinations they've pulled off with the current timeline. Spread the word and make sure NetherRealm knows we are not happy and we will not fucking stand for this anymore. If you guys want to show support for something less offensive than this tripe, consider that Soul Calibur 6 will be releasing its own rebooted royal female fighter, Hilda, on the same day as Sindel's Combat Pack release. Please support the one you think is handled in the more appropriate manner, because I certainly know which one I'm going to support.
On the combat cast. Today I'll be giving you all
So this is history behind the warrior, history of
Katana. So for those of you who are
Katana.
unfamiliar with Katana, this video will be a deep breakdown and analysis of the character's history. So I'll be talking about the events surrounding her before her first appearance in Mortal Kombat 2, the events that do transpire with her from Mortal Kombat 2 to Armageddon, and of course I'll be discussing the events that do happen from Mortal Kombat 9 to Mortal Kombat X. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get on to the video. Pre-Mortal Kombat. Now, Katana is an extremely interesting individual in the Mortal Kombat universe. She's actually one of the very few Edenians we do have in the series. Now, why exactly are they so rare? Well, in order to talk about Katana, we do need to talk about Edenia first. Edenia was a sacred and beautiful realm. I mean, it's called Edenia because it's loosely based on the Garden of Eden. Just to give you all an idea of how wonderful this place was. Now, Edenia was ruled by 2 individuals, that being King Jared and Queen Sindel. The 2 lived in peace for thousands of years, and the 2 were also blessed with a young girl, that of course being Kitana, and all seemed right with their home. But unfortunately, this peace wouldn't at all last long. You see, whilst this was going on, Edenia was in the process of battling off Outworld, as the 2 realms had commenced mortal combat, with Outworld being on the verge of victory. Now, Shao Kahn's forces proved to be far too much for Edenia to handle, and thus they lost 10 consecutive Mortal Kombat tournaments, and their realm was invaded. Now, during this invasion, Shao Kahn would kill Katana's father and kidnap Queen Sindel, as he was interested in having her become his wife. Now, Katana at the time was extremely young, only being a mere baby, so she wouldn't have been able to remember these events. Now, after Sindel was kidnapped, she did not allow herself to fall into Shao Kahn's clutches, and thus did commit suicide, sadly leaving only Katana in Shao Kahn's care. Now, in the original timeline, Shao Kahn has a lot of interest in Katana, as Edenians are known for extremely powerful strength and fortitude. So when Katana was at a very young age, Shao Kahn would have Shang Tsung travel to his flesh pits and create a hybrid-like being from Katana's DNA. With the strength and durability of an Edenian and the rage and bloodlust of a Tarkatan, to Shao Kahn this would be the perfect being. And this leads to the creation of Mileena in the original timeline. So Katana actually grew up with the belief that Mileena was her sister. Now, whilst Katana herself was growing up, she had an extremely difficult relationship with Melina, as her Tarkatan bloodlust made her extremely difficult to be around. But luckily for her, Kitana found a friend in Jade, another Edenian that Shao Kahn had raised. Now the two knit a very tight bond, and were more like sisters than Kitana's relationship with Melina. So understandably there was some tension between the trio. Now as the centuries passed by, fun fact, Edenians age extremely slow, the trio were trained to be Shao Kahn's bodyguards, and they were the deadliest assassins in Outworld. Now as more and more time passed by, Kitana started to grow rather suspicious of Shao Kahn, and despite him being her father figure, she knew something wasn't entirely right. So she would begin to investigate her background and heritage, and she finally caught word of what had happened when Outworld was defeated in mortal combat by a monk known as Liu Kang. Now upon learning of her Edenian heritage, Kitana would begin to plan her way of escaping from Shao Kahn's clutches, and would enter the second Mortal Kombat tournament in the hopes that Raiden would hear her out and grant her sanctuary in Earthrealm. Mortal Kombat 2. Now during the events of the second game, Kitana is successful in reaching out to Earthrealm's champion Liu Kang and having him hear of her current situation, so he would attempt to assist her in her escape. However, once she finished her conversation with Liu Kang, she was immediately attacked by Melina, who had overheard her conversation and wanted to kill her for her traitorous beliefs. Now despite being ambushed, Kitana was able to fight back and actually kill Melina, which in turn now means she has severed her ties to that of Shao Kahn. Now despite this, she was in fact imprisoned and sentenced to death, but just before the events of Mortal Kombat 3, she is able to escape and travel to Earthrealm, as Shao Kahn wishes to invade Earthrealm after being defeated in the second tournament. Mortal Kombat 3. Now upon entering Earthrealm, Kitana learns that her mother Sindel has in fact been resurrected by Shao Kahn, so her main objective in this game is to free her mother of Shao Kahn's influence. But whilst on her journey, she's confronted by Reptile and Jade. The pair have been given the mission of capturing Kitana and bringing her back to Shao Kahn, but Jade turns on Reptile, choosing to side with Kitana than the ruthless Shao Kahn. Now the two were able to track down Sindel, and together they were able to free her of Shao Kahn's mind control, allowing her to finally be reunited with her daughter. Now during the events of the third Mortal Kombat game, Shao Kahn is defeated once again by Liu Kang, and the Emperor is forced to return back to Outworld. Now Shao Kahn is so incredibly weakened by Earthrealm that Kitana and Sindel are able to free Edenia from Outworld, having the realm return back to its former glory. It's also here where a relationship would somewhat blossom between Kitana and Liu Kang, as she does thank him for all of the assistance he's given, and says that they will see each other soon. Now when Kitana, Jade and Sindel return back to Edenia, they plan on rebuilding their realm from the ground up, so it looks like not a day had passed when Shao Kahn had invaded, but during the process of reforming their home, the fallen elder god Shinnok would rise. Mortal Kombat 4. Now during the events of the fourth game, Edenia was welcoming back all of its lost residents, only giving them back their homes they had lost so long ago, but unfortunately they allowed through an Edenian known as Tanya. Although she may have seemed harmless on the surface, this Edenian was secretly working with the fallen elder god, and once present in Edenia, opened up a portal allowing Shinnok's armies to flood through. Many were killed during this battle, and any that survived were imprisoned within their own home. Now Kitana is no stranger to being in prison, and is able to escape, but it's here where she shockingly finds herself coming face to face with Melina, who has recently been resurrected by Shinnok and is now in his service. Now the two do battle, and Melina is defeated once again, and to make sure that Melina doesn't chase after her, she locks up within a prison cell. Now it's here where Kitana fights back against Shinnok's forces with Earthrealm's defenders, and eventually Liu Kang is successful in defeating Shinnok, freeing Edenia once again. Kitana would in fact appear before Liu Kang, and now she definitely knew that she was in love with the Shaolin monk, and she did in fact propose to him, giving him the opportunity to sit alongside her, and together they could rule Edenia as king and queen. And as much as Liu Kang loved Kitana, he had to put his feelings aside. As you see, he was the champion of Mortal Kombat, and he knew he couldn't abandon Earthrealm and leave it alone. Now though Kitana was sad,
Thank you for choosing Monday.
she did respect his choice.
Hello, can I get a number 9 regular
What kind of dip is this?
barbecue?
Medium or large?
Large.
What kind of drink?
Coke with no ice.
Okay.
And then can I also get a side of chili cheese fries?
Okay.
And that'll be it.
$10.89 at the first window. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, the Shogun prince known as Goro had apparently died, and Kitana couldn't help but mourn the lost ally. Now despite this, he wouldn't stop her assault against Outworld, and Outworld was on the brink of falling apart. as Kitana wanted Shao Kahn's head for what he'd done to her father. But the Emperor had mysteriously been killed by two assailants. Shocked yet happy to hear this news, Kitana would return back home victorious. So whilst in Edenia, she would be approached by Khan Ba, who told her that the assailants that killed Shao Kahn were none other than Shang Tsung. She could see the pair had
Thank you.
together in order to break the deadly alliance and eliminate the biggest threats the realms had to offer. The first being Shao Kahn, and the second was unfortunate.
Thank you.
Then when Kitana learned about this, she was absolutely devastated by it. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Understandably, after hearing that Liu Kang was killed by the Deadly Alliance, she would see how Raiden would fight back against him, and it's from here when she quickly trained as he was able to advance her already fantastic fighting talent, but none of the training in the world could prepare her for what happened next. You see Raiden and his elbow a massive assault against the Deadly Alliance, but despite their best efforts, they went down to one. So Kitana does die in this fight. Mortal Kombat Deception. Now after Kitana was killed, Raiden would also be defeated by the duo, whilst the pair are fighting amongst themselves. The Dragon King Nala would return, and realizing the extremely deadly threat that he presented, the Deadly Alliance would team up with Raiden in order to stop him. Raiden even sacrificing his life in the hopes that he would stop the dragon, but Nala would keep on and simply destroy him.
Here you are. Thank you. Have a good one.
She was brought back as a human under his control. Now from this point onwards, Onaga would set out to Edenia, as he was interested in conquering and merging all of the realms together, and he purposely sent Kitana to deal with her mother, as he knew that Sindel wouldn't fight against her own kin. Now despite Kitana attempting to subdue her mother, her best friend Jade would interfere and be defeated by her, in turn allowing the pair to escape. Now Kitana wouldn't be under Onaga's service for very long, as you see during the end half of Mortal Kombat Deception. After Shang Tsung was seemingly destroyed, Liu Kang's soul was freed of his body, and he was able to form an alliance with the mystical Ermac and the game's main protagonist Shujinko. Together, the trio would attack the Dragon King, and Shujinko was able to defeat him, freeing Kitana and the other Earthrealmers of his control. So Kitana was happily reunited with Liu Kang once again, even if he was only in spirit form. Now after learning that Liu Kang's form was actually extremely fragile, she allowed herself to become his anchor, as he needed someone who he had a strong relationship with in order to remain in this realm. But not doing so, he would ascend to the heavens and be gone. So she would temporarily bond with Liu Kang. Now while she's on her way back to Edenia, Kitana would encounter Blaze, and the powerful elemental would warn her about the Battle of Armageddon, how many would fall and that there could only be one victor. Now understandably, this was almost too much for Kitana. After all of the events that previously transpired, it felt like she was going insane, but knew she had a duty to not only her friends, but her realm and the universe, as she couldn't allow this sort of power to fall into the wrong hands. So she would tell all of her allies about the coming events, and together they would prepare for the Battle of Armageddon, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Now Kitana herself doesn't actually play any role in the main story of the Conquest mode. In fact, the most we see of her is during Mortal Kombat Armageddon's opening. Now it's unaware of who she battled during this fight, but it is widely believed that Kitana did die during this battle, as many others did follow a very similar fate. This actually sparks the end of the original timeline, as it is in fact Shao Kahn who's able to obtain Blaze's power and win the Battle of Armageddon. And as expected, this would lead up to Raiden sending a message to his past self, which in turn alters the rebooted timeline. Now before I get to the reboots, let's quickly touch on Kitana's Mortal Kombat X ending. I'm well aware that her ending actually contradicts what I do say here, but the thing is, that is an arcade ladder ending. Arcade ladder endings should be taken with a grain of salt, as they are simple what-if takes on particular scenarios. So until we actually learn more about the original timeline, I'm going to consider Kitana's ending in Mortal Kombat X non-canon. This could easily change in Mortal Kombat 11's story, considering we're tackling time travel, but until we get some actual confirmation, I'm going to consider it non-canon. Mortal Kombat 9. Now in the reboot, there are actually some differences with Kitana. For one, she appears much earlier in this timeline, and two, she grew up without Mileena by her side. So her childhood would have been her and Jade growing up together. And it does further cement the friendship and tight bond that the two do have. Outside of that, everything is actually the same down to a T. Now during the MK1 section of the game, she makes her first appearance during the Johnny Cage chapter, where she has a very brief appearance alongside Jay. Together the pair watch over the event of the tournament to see what transpires.
I'm home. Subscribe.